It's the February show with Barb from Dover Apothecary. Barb, it's Valentine's Day. And with Valentine's Day, we always talk about the heart. And I know that's where we're going to go with your article today. I read it this morning, loved it. So many great points that resonate with me and just about heart health and being more aware. I like when you're off air and we were talking about the value of mindfulness and just understanding you, right? And all the secondary stuff that you guys can do in your practice to help keep that heart healthy, because folks, you need it. Trust me on this one. So you
We
take the
do.
stage. Here we go.
All right. Well, thank you, Dave. And yes, we do equate February with Hurt Month. And there's a lot of emotional component that goes with the month for people as well. But as an overall organ system in our bodies, the functions of our heart, it just is absolutely astounding. And there's so much that's happening behind the scenes that we just, that awareness isn't there. That is what we call our autonomic system. And so all of these processes that are literally keeping our bodies alive are going on and just happening. And there's no necessarily conscious awareness of that until something starts to go wrong. And, and not just the North American lifestyle and diet, because it really has become a more global issue with the types of health issues that are out there, such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, all of these different things, and certainly our stress levels. And so, all of those as a long term lifestyle commitment, we need to bring our awareness to the importance of all of the different things our heart's doing, even if it doesn't seem like there's a problem, because there's a lot that we can do to support it so that we can avoid those types of issues. And, so we always look to nutrition, right? But that's one single component. We've got our sleep habits. We've got the amount of water that we're drinking. And it's not just about eating enough food calorically, but it's the right balance of food. So our macro and micronutrients. And a lot of people may or may not be aware that our heart also has a very electrical system. So if somebody has an imbalance in their electrolytes, then that type of problem, when they have low mineral status, can interfere with the function of the heart. So, it's looking at the whole picture, it's looking at the intrinsic factors and the environmental factors of what can be affecting our heart health. The one thing that I always talk a lot with my clients in my practice is for them to understand that just because there is a strong family influence of certain diseases or disorders or conditions doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be susceptible to that themselves. Because when we look at the environmental factors, and it's like, well, my family's always eaten this, 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 and this, and my family may drink more than, another family as far as alcohol. When we break it down into those environmental controllable factors, it turns out that the reason that person has a higher family um, tendency towards that disorder is because of the way that that family tends to live. So when we change that scenario, we suddenly reduce the likelihood of that being a problem for them. And, we have a lot of power, a lot more power over that than people might actually think.
I'm interested two parts on this because everybody is so different.
Mm.
So I was in my mind when when you were just going through that is like, okay, what would, if I was in that scenario, what would I try and reduce first? Stress, or change my diet, or exercise, or better sleep? I guess it depends on the individual, right? But usually people can only
Mhm.
focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
In a general situation, what would you tell somebody? Would you say, okay, look at the stress you're under? Or would you say, okay, go for a walk? Like, where would you start with somebody? I'm just curious.
All right. I generally always try to bring awareness to their actual stress awareness, because there are people that cope very well with stress, but that stress has been chronic for them, that it's just accumulated over the course of time to the point where they don't actually even have a perception that they are experiencing stress.
Under that
They're
much stress.
just so used to it. They've not become immune to it. They've actually become worn down to it. But stress is probably the most damning type of situation for our bodies, especially when, because all the physiological processes that are happening because of that stress. So, if somebody starts not sleeping well, then your cortisol levels start to go up. If your cortisol levels start to go up, then your inflammation starts to go up. If your inflammation starts to go up, then depending on what your disease susceptibilities are, it may start to lay plaque down in your arteries. So if there's already so we do start with stress. The most modifiable factors are the things that we need to be addressing first. Because if we bring down the stress, then suddenly they're sleeping better. If they're sleeping better, their mental outlook's better. If their mental outlook's better, they're probably making better choices with their diet, nutrition, and exercise. But some people, yes, the movement is absolutely critical. A healthy diet cannot erase what stress does. Activity levels can't erase what stress does, but the activity levels can adjust hormones that make your stress chemicals less damaging to your system. So when we understand that it's all sort of a continuum, but for every individual it's going to be different, and we have to look at those baby steps for them. When somebody is at a heightened level of stress, anything can seem like too much. And if it's got to the point where it's really, really had a negative impact on their mental health and well being, and they don't feel like they have other support systems in their life, there may be financial factors going on. We have to look at the entirety. That's what holistic health actually is. So it's looking at what the person is, you know, experiencing, what they're capable of, what the limiting other factors in their lifestyle might be, and helping them to see where those good points are to start. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Actually, you already drink more water than most of my clients. That is a majorly good thing. This is why. And then we just break it down into kind of a checklist from there. And when we do a follow up consultation, we really lean into the things that that person's been successful in and help them to see where they were to where they've gotten to where they and it's a continuum that way. But yeah, I would have to say I start with that stress awareness, and then we look at management techniques for that.
When you talked about management techniques and getting the right vitamins and the right
Mhm.
supplements, I mean, I think um, just a little bit, like, you know what I mean? Like, this sounds weird, but just winning one little day or half a day,
Right.
right? And that gets that
Hmm.
motivation going again, which I think is probably the secondary part of this because you're so under so much stress, you actually feel like you have no motivation. So all of a sudden,
Right.
once you get those right supplements, you do that. You take your mind out of that element for a minute and go for a walk, and just allow yourself
Yep.
that moment to breathe. Then all of a sudden, you're just doing good stuff for your heart all the way around. And
Yep.
I think that's the point you and I obviously want to get to today is, just do what you need to do for your body, right? Like
Hmm.
those outside noises are always going to be there at some point, but you got to
Always.
remember who you are and take care of yourself. A lot of times too, secondary is you'll see a caregiver who might give up their routine, their
Mm.
exercise. They're helping a partner, they're helping someone in their lives, but
Yeah.
you got to maintain something because you can get sick too. And I think that's we kind of all do it. You and I do it. I know both you and I do it. We're
Hmm.
trying to help other folks, and we should be okay. Focus on yourself for a
Yeah.
minute here. Go do that. That
Yeah.
helps you
It's
remember who you are. And it's all like you said. I love that you're tying it all together
yeah.
and how heart healthy it is related because we miss that. We don't understand that critical point between the stress,
Hmm.
the heart, the diet, the heart, everything goes back, right? And I got to admit,
Yep.
on the other side of this, comparative to where we were 50 years ago, the advances in technology to help your heart
Hmm.
through medical ways is incredible now. But you got to do it yourself. You got to do your homework.
Right. Yes, it's those everyday things that are critical factors. They are the factors that we have the most control over. They're voluntary
Yeah.
for a lot of it, but yeah, most certainly the advances have been massive. They've had to be, because of our nutrition and lifestyle and activity levels, and the ultra processed and processed foods and things like that. But yeah, just overall understanding that how the power of everyday can have massive, massive influences on the ability for us to stay healthy, and to maintain a heart that is functioning at its optimal level, as opposed to the little things that we do unwittingly that are actually detracting from the health of that vital organ system. And, so do a bit of meditation, perhaps, if that is something that appeals to you. Do some mindfulness coloring, go out and spend time in nature. A little chilly in our area right now, but pretty icy. But there are different things that we can do in the house. One of my husband and my favorite things to do is we have a TV down in the exercise room, and we put on YouTube nature scene videos and hop on either the spin bike, the treadmill. There are Pilates videos, there are yoga videos, they can be 10 minutes. You don't have to start with an hour of exercise. You don't need a gym membership just to start that process. It may lead to that. You may become, so enamored with that process and recognize how much better you feel that you'll want to do that. But you just need to start with more than, better than what you're doing right now, and your heart and your body and your brain, your mental outlook. All of those things will respond in a positive manner to those changes.
I think too, one last point I want to bring up and get your thoughts on is we're such a reward society. Oh, look, I worked out for an hour. Now I can have the ice cream. We forget that that an hour's worth of work helped our heart. That's the reward. We're helping
Right.
ourselves, not, you're not the other way around where it's like, oh, I get this now. I see a lot of people that do that. And I kind of like, I get
Hmm.
it. Like, I'm not going to tell you I don't reward myself once in a while after a good run or something, but it's the control of it. It's not letting it
Yep.
overtake you and do it all the time and doing your supplements. For
Hmm.
years, I was not a big supplement person, but I do always
Yep.
make sure I have my vitamins and I'm very aware of what my body's doing, especially after all my heart problems. But
Hmm.
it's really simple when you break it down.
Yep.
It's not like it takes your whole day. What it does is give you an opportunity to improve yourself. And I think that's where a lot of people want to do. They want to
Hmm.
improve their health. So the supplements, the exercise, the sleep, like,
Yeah.
you can do it. You just got to focus on it a bit.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, I would love to see everybody be able to get all of their nutrition through their diet, but it just realistically is highly unlikely in this day and age. The soil quality
Oh
isn't
yeah.
what it was 50 or 100 years ago. So the nutritional value of the foods that are growing on that land may be altered. If they're foods that have been transported from thousands of miles away, there's a degradation of the quality of the nutrients in that food. If it's picked before so there are many facets that make our food maybe not as healthy as we would need it to be. And that is where the supplements come in. And, we've talked about them before. I call them the insurance policy supplements that just help us to avoid those deficiencies that can lead to problems later on. And certain ones, by the time people are 40 or 45 years old, I do like to see them on a very set regime of certain things. So, but that's an individualized process. And if
Right.
somebody is on pharmaceuticals already, we have to look at the deficiencies that can happen when somebody's on those medications. We need to address that. So if somebody is on a statin medication, is on blood pressure medication, then we need to make sure that that person is safely supplementing with something called coenzyme Q10, which works at the mitochondrial cellular level. It's your energy spark plug. And those particular medications, unfortunately, kind of cannibalize that. And, that cellular ability to, for all of these things to happen needs that nutrient. So, that's where an individualized consultation comes in. That's where speaking with your, general practitioner, your pharmacist, somebody that's qualified in the profession that understands, where the downfalls are, maybe with a pharmaceutical, where we can safely supplement with a nutraceutical or supplement, and finding that, the timing is right. You don't want to take your supplements at the same time that you take your medications. It's not a good practice, right? We want to try and, so all of those things are things that are covered very well when I do consultations with my clients to help them find the right recipe for them, the right puzzle pieces, and then help to find the way to put them into place correctly.
I think, folks, if you're interested, Barb's, you get Barb's, we'll have her website and the number down below, but give her a call, get a consultation, find out, let's break it down. Barb will break it down for you, find out what you need to be as heart healthy as you can be at this time in your life. Thanks for doing this today. It's a great, great topic. We could go on for hours about this, but I've got to let you go to work. I'm sorry, I got to let you
All
go to
right.
work.
Thanks so much, Dave.
Take care, okay?
You too.